So, Celtics versus Bucs season preview. I think the first thing to bring up here is that Chris Middleton is injured and expected to miss the entire series. And that's obviously deflating for the Bucs because he's one of their best players. The Middleton-Giannis pick and roll is probably their best play, and without him, they're just a worse team and they have less of a chance against the Celtics. So to go along with that, I think a big question for the Bucs is their starting lineup. If they're going to keep running the big lineup where it's Drew, Wesley Matthews, Giannis, Portis, and Lopez. Obviously, having three big guys out there, it gives you rebounding. Portis and Lopez are good shooters. Portis is a good offensive player. And it helps you, match up against the Celtics if they're also going with their big lineup, where it's Tatum, Horford, and Robert Williams in the front court. So we'll see if the Bucs keep the big lineup, or if they go with someone like Pat Connaughton or Grayson Allen instead of Portis. So to talk about the Celtics offense versus the Bucs defense, I think that one of the big questions is who Drew Holiday guards, because he's the Bucs' best defender. Whether it's Tatum, who's the Celtics' best player, or Smart, who's their point guard and maybe a bit better size matchup, or Jaylen Brown, because I think it'll be interesting, because I think Drew, he's their best defender and he can do a good job on any one of those guys. And then if the Bucs do keep the big lineup, Giannis is going to have to guard one of Smart, Brown, or Tatum. So I think that actually gives the Bucs a lot of versatility. If, let's say, Giannis is on Tatum, they can switch, and Drew is on Smart, they can switch all sorts of Tatum and Smart actions or Tatum and Brown actions, and I think that gives them an advantage. And then I've a hypothesis that the Bucs might put Giannis on Smart because his size could be overwhelming. You could stop the point guard, stop the Celtics getting into their offense, and then they can pretty much switch any actions with Giannis involved because he's such a good defender, on multiple guys. And then if they also put Giannis on Smart's a bit of a shaky shooter, so Giannis can help off of him and, help on drives and in the paint and things like that. So the Bucs might do that. We'll see. We'll see if they get creative with something like that on defense, or just go more like Giannis on Tatum and Drew on one of Smart or Brown, and then Wesley Matthews on the other one. Can the Celtics pick on guys like Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, and Grayson Allen, because they're obviously not great defenders, especially Grayson Allen. He's pretty small. I think, Tatum, if he can get him switched onto him, could really score pretty easily. And then Brook and Portis. Brook's a good defender in the paint, but, if you switch onto the perimeter, I think Tatum and Brown can definitely get by him and score on him. So we'll see if the Celtics are able to hunt those guys, especially Grayson Allen, because if they're not able to and Grayson Allen's able to stay on the floor, he's a really good shooter, and that can really help the Bucs offense. And then can the Celtics make some above-the-break threes? If the Bucs are loading up on the paint and on the corners, they're going to give up above-the-break threes, especially to the role players or the guys who aren't great three-point shooters like Smart, Derek White, Grant Williams, even Tice and Horford when they're out there. If those guys can make above the break threes and make, open threes, that's really going to help the Celtics offense a lot. And then the final thing, if the Bucs are switching, with Giannis at center, or, actions with Giannis involved, if they can force the Celtics into a lot of tough ISOs, like if they can force the Celtics into their offense being, Tatum going one-on-one versus Wesley Matthews or Drew Holiday, then I think that is a good thing for the Bucs, because the Celtics are at their best when they're moving the ball a bit more. So, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think the Bucs, if they have a lot of size, obviously Giannis is a big wild card because he's just such a good defender. You feel like he could really dominate a game on that end. So we'll see what happens. And then the Bucs offense versus the Celtics defense. So I think the first thing to bring up is that the Celtics have a lot of guys they could put on Giannis. Horford, I think, will start on him. They have Tatum, they have Robert Williams, they have Grant Williams. They just have a lot of options. Even guys like Smart, if he switches onto him, it's not the end of the world. So, what they'll do with that, I think it gives the option to switch. It gives them the option to give Giannis multiple looks. And then it's not just going to be one guy. It's going to be help defense. It's going to be loading up on the paint. So I think the Celtics, even how great Giannis is, they're pretty well equipped to stop him. But with that being said, I still expect Giannis to dominate in this series because he's that good. And then, similar to the Celtics, can the Bucs hunt guys like Pritchard, Tice, and Derek White? Because, especially with Giannis, because if he gets one of those guys switched onto him, he can score easily. But even with Drew Holiday, who's really going to have to step up in this series without Chris Middleton. And yeah, Drew Holiday's dependability as the second option is going to be really important for the Bucs because, you'd say now their Drew Giannis pick and roll, it's going to have to create a lot of their offense for them. And then when Giannis is on the bench, then they're going to be in real trouble without Middleton, and Drew is really going to have to step up. And then the role players are really going to have to step up too. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, they're going to have to make threes. Pat Connaughton, Wesley Matthews, the Bucs role players, if the Celtics are loading up on Giannis, are going to have to make open threes and make the Celtics pay if the Bucs, want to have a good offense. And then, can the Bucs get anything in transition? Because that's obviously going to be efficient. Can they get Giannis going? It could be tough. The Celtics, as I mentioned, a lot of defenders for Giannis, very well organized team. But if the Bucs can get some easy points in transition, that could help their offense out a lot, because I think at times it's definitely going to be a struggle for the Bucs offense without Middleton. It could be slow at some times. You could not really have a great shot maker out there, and that could be a problem. And overall, I think without Middleton, Giannis is really going to have to dominate. This is going to have to be one of his best series, and I think he can definitely do that. And I think, there's a world where Giannis is the best player in this series and the Bucs still lose. And that's just how good the Celtics are, and that's how much the Bucs miss Chris Middleton. So overall, if I'm going to make a prediction, I think the Celtics are going to win. I think the Middleton injury is obviously a massive factor. I think it's still going to be a close series. So my tentative pick is Celtics in 7 games. No Middleton. I sort of trust their depth a bit more. I trust Smart and Brown and Derek White and Grant Williams a little bit more than I trust Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton, just because I feel like they're a bit more solid defensively. And then, the Celtics overall just have a great defense, lots of good defenders, and the Middleton injury. But I think it could be a really close series. I think Giannis is going to have to play really well, and we'll see what happens. I'm pretty excited. But anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more NBA content.